and I want to adopt that donkey. That donkey just has to sit there and be lonely, not having a family, any loved ones. So sad. Poor donkey. Poor donkey. And chicken, but mostly donkey. Next tip. All right, folks, this is Xearrik, and I've been loving Fire Emblem Engage, but there's a few decisions they made when it comes to the UI and a few other things that make things a bit unnecessarily complicated, and those little snags that I've run into, I'm making a video about it. And the first and the most important thing is how to view the map. You got this mini map over here. What is that? That's a circle. That tells me nothing. They could have put the icon of the monster at least, right? That way I know what it is. That tells me nothing. So all I can see is around me. But you can look around. If you go to swap spaces, you can scroll around. You might have figured that out already, but if you haven't, that's what this video is for. And like, it took me like 5 minutes to figure that out. I was like, oh, where's the button to do it? And then I just started going through all the UI because I was like, you have to be able to do it until you can do it. And it was swap spaces for some reason that allows you to do it. So yeah, when you're in this section, you can do all your things. If you look at the top of the screen here, you have your little bits of your key. Like you can open up the character. You can hit the select button to zoom in on them and just oogle them for some reason if you want. But then you can also go to the details again. It's like, oh man, that Seraph cloak. I want that Seraph cloak. Woohoo! You know? Oh, and by the way, I will be doing more tips as I play the game. Things that I figure out that are complicated, where I have to break open a Google search that fails me, because that's what happens most of the time, and then give up on searching on Google and instead just bash my head against the game until I can figure out how to do the thing I want to do. But you get to scout it out, see the chests, see the things, and figure this stuff out. Figure this stuff out. So let's move on to the next tip. Okay, and the next tip, it actually kind of tells you this on the top right of the screen. It says additional info. So if you tap this button, you get all this little information. You know that these are backup units. That's actually very important, because backup units, if they overwhelm you, like even your tankiest of tanky characters that they can only do like 1 or 2 points of damage can become completely overwhelmed, because he'll be getting attacked 5 times in one turn. So yeah, being able to hit this button and see who's who is very important, but there's a hidden little feature that they don't tell you about. If you hold down the button, gasp. You can change the information. So you can get a quick on the fly without hitting X button on everything, see their physical attack and their defense. You can cycle through all this stuff. I see their magic. I see that none of these units are magic, and not a single unit here is a magic attacker. Well, 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 look who's gonna be very useful. But at the same time, I see that this person's very resistant to magic, while this person's very susceptible to magic, even though they're not hard countered by it like this fella here. And same thing, before you go making a investment in a thing that you were not sure of, if you're like, oh man, if I miss this next attack, it could be crazy, and then you have to go in and select them and decide whether you want to do it, you can actually just look. You can say, okay, the unit that I need to get the hit off of is this guy right here, my lowest to hit unit that I have, and he misses a lot more than everyone else too, by the way. And I'm about to swing at him. I'm about to overextend and make an investment and hit this guy right here. But I see that I have my lowest to hit unit, which is 103, going into the hardest to hit unit in the game. Actually, I think this guy over here is harder. Where is he? Oh, wow. Interesting. Never mind. I was just very unlucky. I missed that guy a lot. So I only missed this guy one time when I was doing this battle, but yeah. And the same thing for crits. If you're worried about a crit, if you got to make a decision, you can just switch this stuff over. You can see these guys don't get really any additional bonus damage when it comes to crits. But you can see other people, they get a lot more, like this fella here. Oh my god, he hits really hard when he crits. And yeah, all this stuff. If you're worried about the speed, if you're going to be a person who's going to get the 2 attacks or whatever, you can see this rogue here has a speed of 13. So all these, you can just cycle through them, get a quick idea of the movement too. And that leads me to my next little thing. The movement thing isn't as important to me because I normally use this function where I select them with the A button. If I select them with an A button, I can actually see their full movement, their threat range. If they're like a bit of a person who's someone I'm kind of worried about, I can either hit the ZL button and see the threat of all characters on the map, or I can hit the A button and start removing the ones that I don't want to see, or actually selecting, I should say, the ones that I don't want to see. As you can see, those guys do want to see. Those guys stay selected, and I can deselect them. But if you want instead, you can hold that ZR button down, move to movement, and because sometimes I need to know the exact spaces, because I need to theoretically think about their movement, not just in one turn, but multiple turns. And so being able to just hit this button and say, oh, okay, on a fly, I see everyone here is 4. This guy, these are 5. All right, so they're going to be able to move, 8 spaces. And I can count that out in 2 turns and see their maximum distance in 2 turns without having to eyeball it. Next, let me go ahead and exit the game and go to the map screen so I can show you a little something. All right, here we are on the map. And you might be thinking to yourself, or you might have thought to yourself at some point, how do I go back into this town? I can't really figure it out. You've been clicking some buttons, trying to figure to go back into the town, because maybe like me, you invested some money right away into Floramil Town, or this whole kingdom area, and you're like, man, I want to go back into this town, and I want to adopt that donkey. Well, here's how you do it. You don't. You don't. That's how you do it. You just don't do it. You don't get to go back in it. Instead, just play the game, and at some point there's a chance of a random event appearing in random locations, and if one happens to appear in this town, then you're allowed to go back in it. Yeah, don't ask me why it's programmed that way. That's actually just how it works. So like one of your friends might be like, yo, let's go work out, or let's go hang out with some NPC in Floramil Town. That's when you get it. And then you get to walk over to the town, you get to hit the button, and instead you have an additional option to go inside the town. Until that special event, that donkey just has to sit there and be lonely, not having a family, any loved ones. So sad. Poor donkey. Poor donkey. And chicken, but mostly donkey. Next tip. All right, these last couple of tips are not things that I struggled to discover. It's just things that happen to discover, and maybe you might not yourself. So just in case, I just want to tell you, it's very important. You don't seem to have energy like in the other games. You just get to do whatever you want as many times as you want, but they limit the amount of times you can get gains from it. So open up your map and do everything every time. So also, if you're wanting to locate an NPC and see if you've talked to them, hit the X button, open up your map. And if you look here, you can find out where everyone is, and you can find the most important people like Alfred. And you can see that that's grayed out because I've already talked to him. I've already talked to everyone on the map. Something that they don't tell you, actually, that I just thought of, that I had to figure out. Not that hard to figure out, but you want to go into references, and that's how you access your supports. Because they might tell you you have a new support, but unlike the other game, they're not pushy about it. Especially if you played Fire Emblem Warriors or Fire Emblem 3 Hopes. They're not really pushy about the supports. They kind of tell you at the beginning of the chapter thing, but they don't tell you, or they tell you They kind of tell you at the end of the fight or whatever, but they don't really tell you over and over again that you have supports, like keeping it up on your screen flashing or something like that. So whenever you're in town, there won't even be a UI thing here saying that you have it. You have to click on this and then click on this, and then there's UI saying that you have it. It'll hold, like for me, it showed the letter C because I have C support on these characters. So you're gonna want to click that. You're also gonna want to click bond to see if anyone's bonded with any rings. The ally notebook and the ring reference isn't as important. This is just lore as far as I can tell. But every time you're in town, make sure you open up this menu, click on references, click on support, and click on bond to see if you have any new bonds with that character or any new supports with that character. And the next, as I was talking about earlier, make sure to utilize every facility every single time there's a new chapter. So what I mean by that is, for instance, I just recently unlocked a workout facility. So if you look here on this map, there's my workout facility. Every time there's a new chapter, go over there and work out. The next tip is a bit of a theoretical tip, and that's that this here, investing in a town. I don't know if you really need to save your money. It might be best to save your money until you... I immediately started donating as much as I could, and I think that might be best because of the gold corrupted bonus. So maybe invest heavy and invest early in the continent that you're going to be hanging out in, because you're going to get more money back the sooner you invest. And I've been saving most of my money when I do shopping. Instead of buying weapons at the moment, I've been buying vulneraries, because you need a lot of healing on the harder difficulties, for me at least. And I've been getting a lot of weapons. The last battle I did, I got a lot of new weapons from it. And so, yeah, I think I'm mostly going to focus on vulneraries, with the primary bulk of my money going into investing into towns, getting myself bonus money for defeating enemies and whatnot. That's a bit of a theoretical tip. The next tip is, I don't know if this is unlimited. You could test this if you want, but it seems that you can farm items by sleeping. As you might have noticed on my map, there were no glowing spaces anymore. But if you go to take a rest, oh boy, this game has long load time. So it doesn't look like it's unlimited. It does not look like it's unlimited. However, it does happen at least once per... No, maybe it is unlimited. Look, something's glowing. Let me go ahead and test it and see if this is unlimited. At least once per time you come back here and people have new dialogue, I say talk to everyone, collect all the items, check that glowing map, especially there's other areas like over here where it won't glow as brightly because it's underneath the dome. So if there's an item inside there, it won't glow as brightly because that's a different level. And if there's an item over here, that won't grow as brightly because it's underneath the terrain. So keep a close eye out for the glowing. Also, sometimes it'll be slightly off the map. Like there was an item over there next to the workout area, and I almost didn't spot that one because it was basically off the map. The glowing icon was very hard to notice. So when you're here, give yourself a real close look at that. And let's go ahead and take another nap and see if it resets my items, and maybe you can farm items like this. I'm not sure what the consequences are of sleeping. I don't think there are any. I personally don't care enough about this to actually farm items myself this way, but I do nap once per time I'm here. And the main reason I nap once per time I'm here is because of these wake up events. In this game, they seem to reverse the creepiness. Instead of you staring at them creepily, they stare at you creepily while you sleep. And so every time I return here, and specifically every time I turn here and all the NPCs have reset dialogue, when they have new dialogue, right? I talk to everyone, I collect every item, I do the workouts and all that other stuff, and then I come in here, I take a nap to pass the time, and someone creepily stares at me. Notice it's not happening, so it only happens once per reset of the zone. Just like working out, just like a lot of these mechanics. For instance, like this weird creature that I'm about to go hang out with. Yeah, here's a demonstration of the glowing. It looks like it did reset the items again. Interesting that this happens. I'm not going to use this myself, but you can use this if you want. So if you look over here, do you see that glow? It's very faint. That's exactly what I was talking about. And that's the next area I'm going to give you a tip for. Some people might not have noticed it because you have to kind of run underneath the ground over here. But make sure you come underneath the ground over here and you get your collecties under the ground here. And after a few chapters, you get access to this little fella here. Make sure you come in here. Every single time you have access to him, give him food at least once, pet him at least once, and you don't really have to dress him up. I dressed him up because it was weird. But when you pet him at least once, I already pet him this chapter, so I'm not getting a gain, as you can see. And he gives you more gems to get bonds. And one thing that you might not have noticed, I don't know why I picked that up because I'm not going to even bother using it. I'm going to reload. One thing that, well, I picked it up because I got to pick up items. That's just me. Yeah, I got to pick up items, all right? One thing is to make sure to come into your ring vault and spend your bond points. This is how you spend your bond points. So you come in here, you go to the pedestal, you create new bond rings, and you just click on these characters and unlock new stuff. You're like, boom, here's 100 points. Here's a new thing. Here's a new, wow, who is this? I got Tiki. Woohoo. And then you come over, when you get enough of them, you mold the rings together and you get a better version of the ring. Also, make sure every chapter, because you can do this for free, you polish your rings up. Make sure everybody has the green smiley faces. If the ring is dirty, come in here and give that ring a good polishing. Don't ask me why the game does this stuff. For me, rather than doing the little polish like here where you press A, I found the most effective method is to hold R and rotate the analog stick, and you get this super polish, and I really seem to enjoy that. And it cleans up the ring really quickly. No, it's not at all creepy and weird. You're just cleaning a ring, okay? I don't know. Fire Emblem is a weird franchise, okay? Just okay, it's weird, all right? It's weird. It's a fun game. But I don't know. So that's going to be it for today. Thank you guys very much for watching. If any of these tips were at all useful to you, be sure to leave me a like. I appreciate it. And maybe I probably will make another video or two about this game. I plan to make a video about every game that I'm playing eventually now. Especially when it comes to something like this. When it comes to something where it's a new game that I'm playing and I'm struggling to figure something out that should be very easy to do. Yeah, I think I need to start making videos about that, especially because the internet nowadays is really bad at telling people how to do these things. So, all right, so that's going to be it for now. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you're enjoying Fire Emblem Engage as much as I am, and this is Xearrik, and I'm out. Adopt that donkey.